one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our October meeting. We have a lot of good things, and I know there might be a baseball game that some of us are going to go watch, so we'll try to. I'm going to defer my comments, and Dr. Stiniak, I don't know if you want to call the audit.
Okay.
We could do the auditor's report tonight, and if you'd like to introduce yourself and start, I'll move out of the. Let me move out of the way. We have a slideshow.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me? Put it closer to me. Good evening. Yeah, okay. So thank you for inviting me to present the results of the audit for this year. I have great results once again, so I'm happy to say that the audit went very smoothly. The team in your business office is very, very helpful, and everything went very smoothly. So if we could advance the slides, I can walk you through the results of the audit. So this year we conducted 2 audits at this time, one being your financial statement audit, as well as what we call a compliance, federal single audit compliance audit. In both audits, you received an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can get as a school district. The business office was very cooperative. Like I said, you have a very cooperative and helpful business office. I wanted to welcome Marie Donnelly. She started just right when the audit started, and I've worked with Marie in a few of her prior districts, and I'm looking forward to working with her in the future. She did a great job, and her team, please tell your team what a great job they did and was very helpful in getting the audit done. In addition to giving you opinions on the audit, we also issue you a management letter, which is really where we do a lot of testing of internal controls, and then we like to give recommendations if there's anything that we see that needs to be improved. We are very happy to report that this year, as well as the prior year, we did not have any findings or recommendations in your internal controls. You do have a very strong business office, and the controls are excellent. So we were very happy to see that result. And we look forward to hopefully again next year having a 3rd year in a row. No pressure, Marie. Okay. Then the next document that we do issue to the district is an auditor communication. And this really essentially just summarizes if there was any new accounting policies, which there was not this year. We do summarize the accounting estimates, anything affecting the financials, which essentially is calculated by an outside actuary for the most part. The document also will recommend, or we would have to say, if there was any disagreements with management, which there was not, or if there was any difficulties encountered in the audit, which there was not. We did not have any material misstatements or any material audit adjustments, and management provided us with all the representations that we needed to complete the audit. So this was all in all a very good result, this communication this year once again. So this chart, which I like to do every year, is to really summarize your financials from last year to this year so you can see how you did from 23 to 24. So I'm happy to say that your general fund did improve this year. The increase was $415,000 this year, or 6.84%, comparing that to the prior year, which was an increase of only 0.12%. So it was good to see that the financials are definitely moving in a very strong position. What we do is we do list your restricted, your assigned, and your unassigned fund balance. Your restricted is all your reserves that you do have in place, and those essentially are restricted to a specific purpose. And most of those are board reserves. Then you have a capital reserve, which is where you're required to have voter approval to establish as well as spend. Then the next category is assigned. So this year you did lower your assigned fund balance that you appropriated for next year's taxes by about 16,000. You went from 96 to 80,000, 80 mil, sorry, 96,000 to 80,000. And really the reasoning for that is that so your budget is more balanced and self-sustaining, and you're not relying on fund balance to fund your budget. And then your unassigned is really where you're restricted to 4% of next year's budget. Last year you were at 4%, and this year you were at 4%. So that really is important in case you have any unforeseen expenses or any state aid shortfalls that would come out of that number. Okay, so that's the summary of the general fund, which is what your budget is based on. Then we have your school food service program. So that's where all the activity for your food service is recorded. This year, I'm happy to report that you did have a profit this year. So you currently do have 2 months of expenses in fund balance. So the fund balance is moving in the right direction. Last year you did have a loss. So this year you had a profit. So it was good to see that you are doing a great job. Your food costs did decrease this year due to getting a new food service contractor. That was the big change this year. And that helped you out for the operations. Then you had your debt service fund where there was no changes. Capital projects fund. So that's where all your capital expenses for any projects that you do have that you do at the district run through the capital projects fund. So what we have left in fund balance right now is the capital reserve funded projects, which has 72,000. And then we have an unassigned, which is negative. Those are all the projects that you're waiting on grants for. Once you receive those grants, then you will be positive in that line for next year once you get those monies. Okay, the next slide summarizes the general fund. So like we said, the general fund did have a nice increase this year of 415,000 or 6.84% compared to a decrease in the prior year of 7,500. So very good results this year. We talked about the school food service where you have the food service company, you went out for bid and you did have very favorable results with your bidding, thus the costs went down. Debt service did go down, stayed the same. You do have a small balance there that you're going to use for next year to offset your debt service payments. And then your capital projects fund did decrease this year, and that was primarily due to your capital expenses this year were higher than your state monies that you got in any other financing sources. So that was the reason for the decrease in that fund. Okay, the next slide is a nice summary of your reserves. So we had talked about previously the restricted amounts or all the monies that you do have in reserves. So what I did was I gave you the opening balance, the ending balance, and you can see that you are using those reserves to fund expenses. However, you do replenish the funds to make sure that those reserves are where they should be. And the purpose of the reserves is for the future long-term increases in some of these areas that you are prepared for so that the taxpayers don't have to pay for those increases. So all in all, your reserves did increase about 400,000 in total. We have the capital reserve listed below. So as you can see, the capital reserve 2015 is essentially gone. You have 6,500 left on that one. And then you have 218 capital reserve has money left, about $1.3 million. Okay, and those are, like I said, voter approval to spend as well as to establish. All right, next slide talks about what we call our unassigned roll forward. So that's where you start with your 4%, you ended at 4%, and how did that happen? So your revenue side of the budget was 406,774, and that was primarily due to in the interest area. So you did have additional interest money this year due to the higher interest rates. Then your expenditures and other financing sources was $1.1 million, which is about 2.8% of your budget, which is moving in the right direction. Also, that number was at 1.14% of budget last year, which was very, tight. So we had recommended maybe looking at that a little closer so you are at a good level in case you do have any unanticipated expenses. Then any allocation to reserves or funding to reserves comes out of that unreserved, unassigned. And then the appropriated amount for the budget is $80,000. That comes out of the unassigned. So that brought you back down to the 4%. You started at 4 and you ended at 4. Okay. The next few slides, pretty much I talked about most of this. So we talked about the revenue side, where the use of money and property charges of services was primarily the reason why you had the extra money on that side of the budget. And then on the expense side, it was primarily across most of the budget lines, but it was primarily in your general support, instruction, pupil transportation, and employee benefits. Okay. And then the next slide, we talked about interest allocations to the reserves. That also goes into your unassigned. The $80,000 was your appropriated fund balance, and you ended up at the 4%. Okay, so this is a new slide we did this year. We were comparing your actual revenues last year versus this year. So essentially, your revenues increased about 6.73%. And you could see primarily it was real property taxes, which is really based on the voter-approved levy that you had in your budget. We also had additional state sources. So this year, the state aid did increase this year. This happened at most of our districts. This is unfortunately is not going to be the case in future years, but this year you did have increases in state aid. Okay, and then on the expense side of the budget, so the increase was in instruction, which was your normal salary increases and any additional expenses you needed for in the instructional capacity. Employee benefits increased because of the higher health care costs. And then other financing sources was your interfund transfers, which increased from the prior year. Okay, the next slide kind of just talks a little bit more in detail on the chart. So when I mentioned the state sources went up, that was your state aid. Primarily, it was your general aid, your commercial gaming aid, and your BOCES aid did increase this year. Property taxes increased due to the voter-approved budget, and then there was a slight decrease in your STAR credit. Then also the other financing sources we talked about, that it's really your interfund transfers between your different funds, and that did increase from last year to this year. Okay, and then on the expense side of the budget, which is the next slide, so we did say instruction increased, and that really had to do with routine salary and step rises, along with your growth in your BOCES services this year. The employee benefits increase, and that primarily was due to a higher cost of your hospital, medical, and dental insurance. In addition, the pension contributions increased in the ERS, the employee retirement system, but there was a slight decrease in the contributions to the teachers' retirement system. And then the other financing sources did change from last year, and that really had to do with there was a transfer from the capital reserve to the capital projects fund for the capital improvements. Okay. And then the next slide, we really just like to hone in on why it's important to have this strong financial health. Really, it does assist the district with setting the tax levy. It assists in cash flow. It also improves your credit rating or sustains a good credit rating that you do have. It reduces any borrowing costs or interest costs that you may incur. And then it would also fund any unbudgeted contingent expenses that may come up during the year that maybe was not projected in the budget, or potentially, as we know, there may be some state aid shortfalls coming up. So it's important to have that strong financial position to weather that storm. And then really, bottom line, you want to preserve the existing programs and opportunities for the students. And then the last slide just talks about a change for next year. So next year, like I said, there was no changes this year in any accounting policies. However, next year there will be a new GASB or government accounting standard that we have to implement, and that would impact your compensated absences. That's a long-term liability. It has no impact on your budget or your general fund. However, it is a reporting that we will have to address in the upcoming year. Okay, so all in all, excellent audit. Thank you to the district and everybody for all their help, and all good news financially as well as internal controls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to commend Dr. Siniak and Ms. Donnelly for a great job. We're strengthening our finances, and you guys are a good team. So thank you and welcome. You came in right at the beginning of this. So thank you for being responsive to the auditors, and thank you to your team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Always a pleasure.
All right, thank you so much.
Right. Can we just see if anyone has any questions, Marianne? 1 second. I just want to double check for that. Does anyone have any questions regarding the audit? Very
You're
comprehensive.
free to go.
Thank you.
All right. If we can have a motion to approve 4A through 4C, the routine approvals. Motion by Ed, second by Mary. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Public comments, agenda items only as listed in 5A. All right. We'll go. I think we have a lot of fans here. A motion to approve 6A through 6K. Motion by Mary, second by Will. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. I also like to just make a comment on 6F and thank the Old Mill Road Student Council for the money they collected to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation from the 2024 Field of Flags. Very nice. All right, so motion to approve 7A, the personal actions report by Mary, seconded by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Motion to pass 8A through 8D, our special services. Motion by Kathy, seconded by Will. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Report of the committees. First one up
Sure.
started high school.
High schools. So this past meeting, we gave out awards to our NISMA students. Those are music awards. And the students were two from Kennedy, Sam Klein and Zara Selvin. And we had one from Mepham, Alana Muniz. We also gave out our National Merit semifinalists. That was Kyle Park from Calhoun and Mark Pranito from Kennedy. That was our first day of hearing from our student representatives from our 4 high schools. And we also announced the valedictorians and salutatorians. From Calhoun, it was Ian Kilmov and Isabella Rohr. Kennedy, Mark Pranito and Jaden Simon. And from Mepham, Michaela Daub and Helen Streit. That's it.
Yes. Thank you, Ed. Our school community relations PTA council, Ms. Keen.
The PTAs continue to be awesome. I'll try to read this as quickly as possible. Camp Avenue Reflections began. Busy planning Fall Festival. Picture Day was October 11th. The book fair is coming up on October 22nd. After-school activities include amazing athletes, a chess club. Evening events include preparation for Carnival Night in November for kindergarten and first grades, and Parents' Night Out at Cassidy's. Fundraisers include Adventureland, Miss Chocolate, and Mama's Cookies. Fayette Reflections also began on the 24th and runs through November 1st. Students enjoyed International Walk to School Day on October 2nd. That was at all the schools. They were greeted by PTA members with a sticker and enjoyed chalking the walk. Red Ribbon Week begins for all schools on October 20th. Students will have fun activities and dress-up days throughout the week. Students at Fayette will also attend a yoga assembly with Leah Artifelis from Breathe and Flow Yoga. Fall Festival planning is in full swing for all the schools. They've all been working very hard to create a memorable day for the students, and they always do. It's always awesome. After-school events at Fayette include Chess Club, which will be returning on October 21st. Drama Kids will return on October 23rd. Evening events, the next PTA meeting for all the schools is October 24th. Fundraisers, Fayette families had a fantastic movie night on September 13th. The families enjoyed watching Minions 4 outside in the backfield, and they said it was their best movie night ever. So they were so appreciative for everyone's hard work, especially buildings and grounds. They were awesome. So great movie night. Families enjoyed watching Minions. I said that already. Picture Day was September 26th. Adventureland, same as October 26th. Thanksgiving pie sale will begin November 4th. The Raise Right gift card fundraiser will start November 6th with delivery before Thanksgiving. And a second round will begin on December 3rd with delivery before December 20th. Picture retake is November 14th. Old Mill Road, we have box out bullying. We have the box out bullying assembly on October 21st. Fall Festival Parent Parade is on Halloween Day, along with the kids' Halloween parade. Chalk the Walk on October 1st was a huge success. PTA meeting is the 24th. Fundraisers include Galleria Pizza on October 8th. It was a great night for the PTA and for Galleria. Scholastic Book Fair was on October 10th and Adventureland the 26th. SEPTA, they had their Spooky Bingo on October 28th. They have their Spooky Bingo on October 28th. Boo Bag Pickup starts tomorrow. And they have a lot of fundraisers going on. They had their paint night with Miss Block. That was a huge success. So it just a lot of great things going on in all the PTAs. So thank you, PTAs.
Very nice. Thank you. Mr. Carter, Buildings and Grounds. It's getting chilly.
Yeah, we had to turn on the heat this morning. It was pretty cool. Everything went off without a hitch.
Literally.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
So this is the playoff edition of my monthly meeting. My monthly list. It'll be nice and quick. Everyone settled in for the school year, and then October is festivities and festivals and parades, and it's going to be a great time. This Friday is Trunk or Treat, so everybody get their costumes out, come out. We're trying to break the record for people attending, which is going to be hard to do. Yes, and like I just mentioned, we did use the heat today, and everything went well because we prepared for it. We started up everything before we needed it, so we don't have problems when we do. This is actually the time we start to prepare for snow. We dropped off a plow today for repairs, and Frank will start bringing out the snow blowers and parking the lawn mowers soon. So, also, annual fire inspections are at the end of this month. So our fire inspector, our contractor comes in, tests the system physically, and then our fire inspector comes in and walks the buildings and gives us everything we need to get our certificates of occupancy. So that's at the end of this month. And we're also going to be doing some tree work behind Old Mill on the north fence line. Just thinning out the trees, taking some dead growth out or some dead limbs, grinding a stump and just making it for healthier trees and less likely to blow over in storms and stuff like that. I don't know when it's going to happen. We just wrote the PO, so we're going to try to schedule it before winter comes.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ms. Long, any communications?
No communications. None were received.
Right. Any unfinished business? New business? Any public commenters tonight on anything? All right. On that note, I'll motion to adjourn. Thank you. By Will, seconded by Steve. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that was good.